Indiana Pacers desperate for a win.
Going to the opponent's home building, you want to win. It's a very emotional sport. You let that out.
We're going to be undeterred, and we are going after them.
We're in a great position right now. We're one win away from the finals.
We're going to be back here Monday night. We're going to come at them even harder.
Let's get after it. Memorial Day here in Indianapolis with the Indy 500 all wrapped up. Can the Celtics get past the finish line as well? Or do the Pacers have more fight in them to stave off elimination? We'll have updates on Tyrese Haliburton, Kristaps Porzingis, plus the GOAT Doris Burke joins us as well as we set the stage for Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals right now. Hello and welcome into Hoopstreams presented by DoorDash. I'm Cassidy Hubbarth alongside Youngmisuk and Tim Bontemps.
Get out of the way, Om.
And behind us, we got Boomer, who is amped up. I mean, he needs to bring all the hype for his fans. So, I mean, he's, okay, that takes skills. Okay, what do you have next for us?
Whoa, I mean, juggling?
Yeah, take care of the ball. No turnovers, can't have that. Oh, that's got to be hard to do. Especially with your paws like that.
All right,
okay,
Boomer.
And a third one.
More.
Let's go.
Got a drum.
1, 2, on the beat. On the beat. Okay, go. Let's go. That's what you're doing? I love it. Thank you, Boomer. I'm fired up to
All right,
get
Boomer.
Hoopstreams
There you
ready.
go.
And I know the
There you
fans
go.
around here are going to be into it to help the Pacers avoid elimination. Yep. Now get the fans into this because it's a big one for you guys, so thank you so much. And it's going to be an even bigger one, especially without Tyrese Haliburton out again in Game 4. Rick Carlisle kind of talked about that pregame. He just made a quick statement. But, you know, impact of him being out again and your thoughts on him not being able to compete for a second straight game.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're down 3-0. Do they want to win this game? Are they going to play like their season's on the line? Absolutely. But they also have to protect the future of the franchise and not risk any further injury. Who knows if they can extend this a little bit further? Maybe he comes back into play, but I never expected him to come back tonight.
That's what we talked about the other day. When he left the court with a muscle injury in Game 2, the same injury to the hamstring he's been dealing with since January, it was very unlikely he was going to play again in this series. And certainly, if you look where the series is at, it doesn't make a lot of sense to rush him back out there. So now the question is, can the Pacers do what they did in Game 3, give themselves a chance to get a win and send the series back to Boston for Game 5?
Well, let's take a look at how Game 3 unfolded here on Saturday night. And the Pacers, like you said, came out strong despite no Tyrese Haliburton, fueled by the home crowd and Andrew Nembhard's clutch baskets. And Indiana would go up by as much as 18 points. Jaylen Brown even said he was shooting the ball like he was Jordan out there. But the Celtics, undefeated on the road all postseason, kept it close down the stretch. It was Al Horford's historic night of three-point shooting. That beautiful pass from Jason Tatum and the Drew Holiday clutch pick here that made all the difference. The Pacers would have a chance to tie it at the end with a football-style play, but Aaron Nesmith can't force OT, and Indiana goes down 3-0. So just a couple plays here and there. Could have been a coulda, shoulda, woulda a lot for the Pacers, potentially up 2-1 in this series. No matter, you know, you could do that a lot of different ways in the playoffs, but I think, you know, with how things have played out for the Pacers, it feels like they were there, but just not enough. Should that, though, give them some hope that they can come back in this series and pull off something that's never been done before?
100%. Look, I mean, you can make the argument that they could be up 2-1 in this series if they were able to finish some clutch plays here and there. Obviously, this is why Boston went and got Drew Holiday, for plays like that. But look, I would say that Indiana absolutely can win this game. They're going to feed off the energy of this building. Again, it's going to come down to the final 5 minutes of the game and whether or not they can make enough shots.
I hope you're right, but I'm not confident. You look at that game 3, Andrew Nembhard had the game of his career. Obviously an amazing performance from him. The rest of the Pacers couldn't hit a lot of threes. You could say, well, those guys are going to hit more shots tonight. I don't think the Pacers are going to shoot the way they have through the first 3 games. They're shooting 57% on mid-range jumpers through the first 3 games of the series. That's where that Jordan comment from Jaylen Brown came after game 3. I just don't think that shot making is going to continue. And you saw in the final 18 minutes of that game 3, when the Celtics turned the water off on the Pacers offense, they couldn't do anything.
I mean, the problem is that Boston plays around with its food too much.
Okay.
In too many games.
So with that saying, how do the Celtics need to approach this game in order to close it out? Because that's the narrative around them, that they do play with their food.
They need to approach this game like a Game 7. They got to get this series over with. They got Drew Holiday back. He was potentially not going to play with this illness that he had before Game 3. They have Luke Cornett back, who gives them some size inside, will help them fill some minutes when Kristaps Porzingis is still out. But they've got to play the way they did in the final 18 minutes of that game, where they're locked in on defense and they're executing on offense. If they do that, they're going to win this game, close out this series, and give themselves 10 full days to get Kristaps Porzingis ready to go for the start of the NBA Finals. They don't want to waste any time. They have these guys play extra minutes that they don't have to play.
Missoula should just tell them, if we win tonight, I'm giving you guys the next 4 days off.
Right.
You know, that is the nugget in front of you. Basically, win this game. You all can go and get away for 3 to 4 days and let that be the motivation. Because
I mean, do they need time off? Because, there's the argument that they haven't really been, pushed in
right,
this
but it
playoffs.
doesn't matter how much you're going to practice in these 10 days or not, or you take a step back. You're going to be rusty when that first game.
And you know what you don't want to have happen? Like what happened to Derek Lively last night in Minnesota, where he gets an accidental knee to the head. Now he's potentially, seems like he's unlikely to play in Game 4.
Yeah.
You just don't want to risk anything. Every extra minute you have to play is the potential for something bad to happen. That's why they have to take care of business tonight.
Well, speaking of that Timberwolves-Mavs series, what a thriller. Another one.
Amazing.
We got to talk about last night, and it was filled with highlight plays from both teams. So let's get into game talk by rating some of the best plays from last night. And of course, we start with Ant's insane dunk. What were you guys thinking on this filthy jam over Gafford in the third?
Cass, I was watching. He just looked like he kept rising and rising and rising and soaring in the air. He literally looked like he was levitating. It didn't matter who was in front of him. This guy, I'm telling you, there are moments when I watch it and I'm like, it's baby Jordan.
Yeah. I was watching this thinking that the Mavs were in a lot of trouble because Derek Lively was hurt and out of the game, and Anthony Edwards, for the first time in this series, was having success getting to the rim. Yeah. And that's why, to me, in this Game 4, with him doubtful to play, I think Minnesota's got a chance to potentially start to get back into this thing, just like we saw Boston in the same position last year. Win Game 4 on the road, go home for Game 5. You win Game 5, you're right back in the series. It's 3-2, and you have to win one road game.
We saw what they did with the Nuggets. They lost 3 games in a row. Granted, they won the first 2 games, but they play their best when they don't have pressure on them. Now, Maxi Kleber could come back. That would be a big boost for them without Derek Lively, because now they can stretch the floor even more. That's trouble for Rudy Gobert.
That was my thought, though. Ant finally looked aggressive once Derek Lively was out of the way.
Sure, okay, but, that did feel like, okay, this is going to be a momentum-changing play. And it was in a way because it cut into a 10-point lead, but then he fell short, and the Timberwolves only had 3 points in the final 5 minutes. They just couldn't compete. I mean, they were calling for him to be more aggressive, and he was, but just not enough.
He needs to learn to demand the ball in the final 5 minutes of a game, and he will get to that point. But it is inexcusable down the stretch. Minnesota cannot get him the ball where he doesn't get a touch. He has to get a touch. When the ball swings to the right side of the court and Anthony Edwards is just sitting there not getting the ball, he has to get the ball. He has to come over and demand the ball.
It's also not surprising he played with more energy because they got him off of Kyrie Irving. Problem is they had to put Mike Conley on Kyrie Irving. That's not a good matchup. That's why
I didn't get your rating. Is it a 10 out of 10, a 9 out of 10?
I'm saying it's an 8 out of 10 because they lost the game.
Okay,
wait, the dunk?
Yes.
10. How are you not giving it a 10?
Just because they lost the game.
Then I will give a 9. So we're split.
There you
9,
go. Perfect.
8, 10. There we go. All right, let's rate this. Speaking of clutch, how about Mr. Fourth Quarter himself, according to Luka Doncic? What are you guys rating this Kyrie shot over Cat? One of many clutch shots last night. 14 of his 33 in the fourth.
10 out of 10, and it's because of the play of Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic in this series. Those guys have combined to score 181 points. Cat and Anthony Edwards have combined to score 111. It's a 70-point difference over 3 games. That's why Dallas in a tight series where every game has been close, they're up 3-0 because those two guys have absolutely been dominant in that matchup.
There's just no closer on Minnesota's side. I talked to someone in the organization today, and he was like, look, we're playing. We're in all these games. We can't stop them at the end. We can't close. They don't have anybody to match these two. And if Kyrie gets it going like that, they're in big trouble because you can double team Luka Doncic, but he's going to make the right play. He is going to make the right play, and that ball is going to get to Kyrie Irving, and he's going to make shots like that.
Well, the interesting thing on that play, you could see Luka coming up the court and him being like, this is Kyrie's time.
Yeah.
He took his chance to kind of catch a breather, but I tweeted last night, they have a telepathy of like, all right, it's not you go, I go. It's like, all right, this is your time to take over. This is my time to take over. It's feeling seamless. The chemistry is right there. Look alive is what we're doing here, live courtside here in Indy. All right, so let's go on to the next play. What are you guys rating on the petty scale with Luka picking Gobert's pocket and then staring back at the Wolves bench like,
11.
really?
11 out of 10.
On the petty scale.
The petty with Luka and Rudy over the past couple games of this series has been off the charts. And this was really peak petty. Not only getting the steal, but then turning to the bench essentially saying, what in the world are you guys doing trying to post up Rudy Gobert on me? No way that's going to work.
We need to get Tim McMahon to tell us, do some real investigative journalism, see what Luka said to Anthony Edwards.
Yeah,
we need to know. He wouldn't say what it was.
I love everything about Luka, especially the trash talk, whether it's in Slovenian, whether it's in English. I am starting to feel bad, though, for Rudy Gobert. I really am. I mean, he's taking so
because
much
he's out of
now.
position defensively?
No,
I mean,
and it's
you
just
can't
like,
expect him to. Should he be expected to guard Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving? Should he be in those positions?
Listen, I think from here on out, when I start to vote for Defensive Player of the Year, it's going to be a guy that can guard multiple positions now. Like if I keep thinking, if that were Wembanyama, I think Wembanyama will be able to hang a little bit better.
Well, as
than Rudy
Wembanyama
Gobert.
said himself, let him have this one because it's going to be mine going forward. All right, lastly, what's your rating of this Daniel Gafford jam with under a minute to go and the Luka shimmy, which
Again,
to me was my favorite
11 out of 10, because this was, Luka right there, we cut away from it. But this was the punctuation mark on this game and on this series. Because again, if Dallas doesn't win this game, with Derek Lively's status up in the air, you could easily be looking at this being 2-2 going back to Minnesota. Instead, they got a chance to close it out. It's because of Luka's play down the stretch, and Gafford was absolutely massive in the fourth quarter. Best game of the playoffs for him by far.
Gafford had the big block as well that we don't talk about. I mean, huge impact on that series from the bigs, whether it's Lively or Gafford. They're going to have a huge impact in the next series, obviously, if they advance, because I really like them inside the paint against what perhaps Tatum and Brown can do, and even Porzingis can get physical with them.
I mean, I think that's also key to a championship run is your role player stepping up. And P.J. Washington, Derek Jones, they combined for 27, 5 of 9 on threes.
We do my P.J. Washington.
Yeah, standing on business. That team is clicking on all cylinders. We'll see, if they can close it out, just like the Celtics are trying to do tonight. All right, Game 4. We're counting down as fans are arriving here. Pacers fans showing up, hoping they can get a win in this series and send it back east to Boston. Hoping for the series sweep, those Boston fans, bringing out the brooms. And we are now joined by the GOAT, Miss Doris Burke, who's on the call, obviously, tonight for Game 4.
No.
Yes, that's exactly what we should all be doing. But we want to get into a little game with you because, we talked to a lot of players, and they seem to have a lot of questions for you heading into this Game 4.
Really?
Yes, also and the coaches. So let me just show you some of these questions.
Okay.
This one comes from Rick Carlisle, and he said, hey, DB, what did you think of my football play to end the game? He said it directly to me.
I loved it. I loved that play. What I said on the telecast, you guys, that they're lined up like football receivers ready to run a passing route, which is exactly what they did, a crossing pattern. They get a wide open shot. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I told you at dinner the other night that I thought Boston is not backed up enough here.
Yes.
They looked like they were pressed up on them. They didn't know what was coming. Rick Carlisle explained before the game that he credited Jenny Busek for that play because apparently Jenny and Sue Bird talked about trying to use this play. Jenny played flag football, and so it was an idea that came out of that. And so Rick said, the WNBA has some influence in our game.
I love that, and I love that it's Jenny Busek and the great point guard on the women's side, Sue Bird. That's absolutely fabulous. I'm going to say one thing, though.
Yes.
Had Mr. Turner held Drew just a half a beat longer at the free throw line, that challenge would have been even a little bit later. Just the little details that make a difference.
I mean, we had the discussion earlier in the show about the shoulda, coulda, wouldas that the Pacers are probably feeling heading in to this game 3. Okay, we also spoke to Jaylen Brown, and he had this question for you. Hey, DB, is the conference finals MVP mine to lose?
This is so hard for me, and I want the gentleman to my left. I want to know what they're thinking, to be perfectly honest with you. For me, it's down to 3 gentlemen. I think Tim Bontemps.
You're really down to a small number there.
I think Tim Bontemps is going to yell at me for one. Jaylen Brown, obviously, has been absolutely brilliant. The next guy on my list, guys, is Drew Holiday, right? He's been so influential, in particular in moments that matter. But this guy, the Celtics' ability to drive it, to touch the paint, and then to create action off, that's been such a big part of it. I'm still considering Jason Tatum. You are as well.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, you have a vote, right?
Yes, I do.
I have a vote, and it's down to those 3 guys. I think, as of right now, I think they're all the same. Drew Holiday was probably the best player on the court in Game 1.
Yes.
Makes the game-saving play in Game 3. Jaylen Brown has 40 points in Game 2. Hits the game-saving shot in Game 1. Jason Tatum only had almost a 36-point triple-double with no turnovers in Game 3 and is averaging like 32 points a game.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think whoever has the best game of those guys tonight, that's probably who I'm voting.
Hey, Bontemps, I prefer Doris Burke's Eastern Conference MVP straw poll better than yours, okay? I like that breakdown.
Everything about Doris is better than me, so that all makes sense.
So let's go with our final question to you. This comes from Miles Turner. He said, hey, DB, should I buy more Legos or can we become the first team to come back down 0-3?
The answer is Legos. Legos.
He can build himself a Lego Larry O'Brien trophy.
How long do you think those Star Wars things takes him?
They take a long time.
Yeah. Well, he also paid a fortune for that life-size Miles Turner Darth Vader. This is what we're working with.
This is a guy during the pandemic, he told me he built his own weight room in a garage. Okay?
Literally put the
this
whole thing
guy
together.
loves to build things, and so it's looking like he's going to have plenty of time now to build stuff.
But do you think it's going to be a sweep? You never know.
I don't like to predict because I open myself up to being wrong.
Yeah, touche. Now, before we let you go to get back to the game call, we just wanted to acknowledge the passing of our dear friend and colleague Bill Walton. The Hall of Famer died at the age of 71 after a battle of cancer. We've heard so much today, different stories and the outpouring of love and just the summing up of what an incredible spirit he had. I know you had the opportunity to work with him a few times. Is there anything that sticks out in your mind when thinking of Bill Walton?
Just how vivacious he was about life and how kind. And you guys, the very first time I did a playoff game as an analyst, it was a complete accident. One of our announcers, their passport had expired. I didn't know Bill at the time because this is years ago. And he somehow got my email after the post game. It was this long, and I texted his son Luke tonight to say I cherish the memory of him sending me that note. You guys, I'm sure, remember when Mike Green and Snapper Jones and he were a trio on NBC. I loved him. He was one of a kind and an incredible spirit.
One of one, absolutely a tremendous loss. And I know that you and Mike and JJ and Lisa and producer Tim Corrigan are preparing some tributes to him during the game broadcast tonight. Thank you so much for taking the time here with us on Hoopstreams, and have a great call for Game 4.
Thanks for having me.
All right, it's time to see who zeroed in, brought to you by DoorDash. And you both correctly predicted last show that Jason Tatum was going to have the best game in Game 3. And he did. He probably had the best game of the playoffs for him. Who needs to step up the most in Game 4 for the Celtics to close it out?
I think it's Jason Tatum again. Like when he plays like he did in Game 3, when he's moving the ball, not turning it over, being aggressive, attacking, and most importantly, having that three-point shot go down, the Celtics look like a totally different team. If he plays like that again tonight, Celtics are definitely going to win this game and advance to the NBA Finals.
Lights going down as Indy is already about to run out onto the court. Celtics are already out there in the dark getting their shots up. What are your thoughts?
Cass, your best player has to set the tone in a game like this. It's very hard to close another team out.
Yeah.
We know the Celtics sometimes, as I said earlier, play with their food. Jason Tatum has to come and eat right from the beginning.
Speaking of eating, DoorDash is celebrating $0 delivery fees. Snap a pic of any zero on the broadcast, post it on X with hashtag #DashPassZero and hashtag sweepstakes, and you can win prizes like a trip to the finals. And guys, we've been in Indy this entire Memorial Day weekend, and yesterday we decided to check out the scene at the Indy 500. And we sought out some Pacers fans to see how they were feeling heading into Game 4. Take a look. Huge sports weekend here in Indianapolis as the NBA playoffs and the Indy 500 converge. So we decided to go to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway to play a little game of this or that playoff edition. Would you rather the Pacers come back from down 0-3 or never be able to attend the Indy 500?
I'm never going to miss a race till I die. So it's racers over Pacers, baby.
Oh, Pacers come back for sure. Yeah, I go to a lot of other races, so.
I want to come to this, so they can lose. That's fine. That's fine.
Oh, I would definitely. Wait, I'm not giving up the 500.
Would you rather have a milk shower or a champagne shower?
Milk shower for sure.
Champagne, milk can clump and get nasty.
Champagne shower. I'm lactose intolerant.
Same. I get that.
I'm thinking champagne for some reason, but both sound good.
Is neither an option?
No.
No. Champagne.
Yes.
No milk, sorry.
Kiss the Larry O'Brien trophy or kiss the bricks?
Oh, I'd kiss the bricks any day.
It's all about the bricks, baby.
Kiss the bricks. Kiss the bricks, that'd be cool.
Kiss the bricks. Kiss the bricks.
Kiss the bricks.
Kiss the bricks.
Would you rather hit a buzzer beater to win the NBA Finals or a last lap overtake to win the Indy 500?
I mean, I'm undefeated in my backyard on Lyndhurst over there in Speedway. Buzzer beater all day long.
Last lap overtake for sure. Yeah. Although I was a heck of a basketball player, I could jump out of the gym.
Last shot of the finals, that's iconic.
Last lap overtake. Without a doubt.
I'm going to have to go with the last second buzzer beater on that one.
Last lap overtake to win the 500. There's no comparison.
I mean, there's a little bit of a argument. That's what I said at the end there. Jorge Sedano now joining us as we get into the main attraction. By the way, Joseph Newgarden actually did have a last lap overtake. So we, kind of predicted that. Foreshadow, that's the right word. Thank you, Ryder. All right, let's get into Game 4 here, George. Let's just start off with, do you give the Pacers any hope, given how they've competed in the first 3 games, to try to make a historic comeback in this series?
Yeah, I don't. I got to be honest, Cass. I feel like we've seen their best punch. And remember, after their best punch in Game 1, they got manhandled basically in Game 2. I just feel like the Celtics now know what this team is going to look like without Tyrese Haliburton. When I talked to Joe Mazzulla earlier, they said they were going to play as desperate as the other team. I know that's hard to believe, but when you have the upper hand like they do regarding talent, even without Kristaps Porzingis, I think they know what's coming on the other side and they know how to match up with it.
So there was obviously Rick Carlisle after Game 1. He took some of the blame for not calling that timeout. There was a lot of conversation after Game 3 about whether he should have taken that timeout before Drew Holiday picked the pocket. Your thoughts on Carlisle?
Not only do I think
And
they
that
should
shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Not only do I think they should have called timeout, I'm surprised they didn't foul at the end of that game with about 8.5 seconds left to go. In the post-game interview on ESPN Radio, I had Jason Tatum, and I asked him, hey, how surprised with you that they didn't foul? He kind of looked at me, he paused, he smiled, and he said, I'm just glad they didn't. So they certainly made some mistakes. They could easily be up 2-1 in this series. I think that the analytics had it where they had a 97% chance to win Game 1 and 94 in Game 2. They were up 8 points with 2 minutes and 38 seconds left at home. It was wild that they lost those games.
While we have you, we also talked about the Eastern Conference Finals MVP. these guys, they're going to leave it up to game 4 to decide between 3 guys. Where are you sitting? You've been on the sidelines for ESPN Radio this whole series. Who's in the lead for you right now?
See, I'm going, to me, it's Jaylen Brown's to lose at this point, the way he played early in this series. And I don't think he had a bad game necessarily in game 3. So he's been the guy in this series that has taken kind of the proverbial bull by the horn. So I feel like he's got to be the front runner.
Well, Tim has the vote, so we'll see.
We'll see what happens.
Well, your votes have been controversial, so I know that.
Mr. Miami knows all about that.
Yes, exactly.
I'm bi-coastal, by the way. I'm LA and
You're
Miami.
always Mr. Miami, buddy. You're always Mr. Miami.
You mentioned it a little bit, Tim, about Porzingis. You were at shoot-around this morning. What more do you know about Kristaps' status?
I mean, he was walking around in slides today. He did not look like a guy who was going to play. I think he's not that far away, and I think you'll see him here walking around. The Celtics would love for his next game to be game 1 of the finals because they get this series done tonight. I mean, if this series went long, I think he could come back at some point, but it's 4 weeks to the day tomorrow, Tuesday, that he suffered that calf strain. It's usually a 3 to 4 week injury, but because the situation Boston's in, they obviously can be very cautious in bringing him back slowly, making sure he's 100%. But they're going to need him, whether they play Dallas's old team or Minnesota in the finals. They're going to need him to win the title, so they got to have him back healthy and ready to go 10 days from now when the finals start.
All right, just quickly your thoughts. Is it going to be a sweep?
Yeah, I think so. I think Boston wins comfortably today. I just don't see Indiana having another punch to them today.
You? Sweep?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a sweep.
So it's not going to be close?
No, I don't think it's even going to be close.
No.
I think it'll be close.
For our friends at ESPN Bet, if that's a thing, I would lean towards the road team potentially today.
Well, I do want to just pivot real quickly before we say goodbye. Just to remember our friend and colleague Bill Walton.
Yeah.
You know, Rick Carlisle had just a beautiful, poignant tribute pregame where this is a line that really stuck with me. He said he was a living, breathing event in history. And you were in that press room as well. What were your takeaways?
It was one of the most poignant pregame sessions I've ever been in covering the NBA. And he told the story about how basically Bill Walton was probably responsible for his marriage to his wife, saying that when they wanted to go out on a date in D.C., the Grateful Dead were in town. And so he called Bill Walton and said, I don't have tickets. Can you get me tickets? And Bill Walton said, sure. Go knock on the back door of the Capitol Center and basically ask for this guy, and it'll be fine. And Rick Carlisle was like, are you sure? And he said, yeah. So he pulls up to the ramp. He tells his date. He's like, I'll be right back. She's like, you don't have tickets? He goes down the ramp. He does exactly what Bill Walton says. He comes back with 2 tickets. On them says Bill Walton.
Yes.
And so basically said that they were on the stage, and in the middle of their interlude, they got to basically hang out with the Grateful Dead. But he basically said Bill Walton was a game changer in life and in so many different lives, and that is so true.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, my interactions with Bill Walton were as a broadcaster because I came along after his career was over, and I think it's amazing about him is nobody my age, 40 and under, nobody knows that Bill Walton had a massive speech problem and had to overcome that and became this guy that you never could get to shut up. Like that, to me, it's a truly unbelievable thing. He's able to overcome that, become this voice for generations of fans, and his enthusiasm for the game was always something that really stood out to me.
One of the funniest things I ever encountered with him, we had him in the LA NBA set one day, and back then we had a bunch of pictures of some of the all-time greats, and there was a picture of Bill Russell, and he walked on the set and he goes, Bill Russell, I need one of these for my house. And he literally took it, and we're like, wait, we got to replace that. And he goes, I'll replace it. He grabbed the Sharpie and signed it, Bill Walton.
Oh, wow.
There will never be another Bill Walton. He will truly be missed, and our love and our support go out to the whole Walton family. We're thinking of you today and the days going forward as Bill Walton, definitely one of one. Thank you so much for watching Hoop Streams. Game 4 coming your way, 8 Eastern on ESPN. We'll be back if there is a Game 5. Thanks for watching.
Sweep tonight. Let's go. No